Hello, and joining me we have Gal from FBiz in Brazil, from Colombia, Gabrielle from Millward Brown, from H&K Strategies, Antonio from Mexico. A very warm welcome to all of you and thanks for joining us. Let's begin by looking at Latin American brands. Given the growth that we've seen in Latin America, Gal, let me start with you. Do you see that Latin American brands have the potential now to become big global international brands?
Yes, I do believe so, because I think it's the beginning of a new age, a new vision in which Latin America gets into the global economic map. In some years, I think this will bring a new scenario, a new perspective for our brands. We don't have a history based on development and research for consumer goods, for example. But if we go to infrastructure and services, we've been developing several technologies and researches, and we have very successful brands such as Petrobras, such as Vale, such as Claro. So I think there's a very large path for Latin American brands in the world from now on.
Antonio, I mean, do you see that happening with potentially some of the brands out of Mexico?
I think we're seeing the examples of Corona beer, for example, that is going through the entire globe with the message of Mexico. Now the Dos Equis brand also is making an inroads in the United States as never before. So I do believe that that Mexican brands, as any other Latin American brands, with this access to technology and to access to trade-free agreements along the whole world, we're going to see more of this, and certainly the Latin American brands will succeed in reaching other markets, global markets indeed.
Do you see in Mexico a resurgence of a Latin Americanness?
Yes, despite of our close border, next to the United States, but certainly, and I agree with what we're saying about how we see ourselves as a region, as part of a Latin American continent that is fighting to become more relevant, especially in spite of always listening to China and to Asia and to the BRIC countries, which obviously Brazil is part of one. But as a region, I think we feel very proud of what we're doing, of what we can accomplish. We're seeing the investment of foreign companies in our region now coming more and more stronger than ever. And I believe that is part of because we're very profitable. We're very productive countries. We're making a lot of people making a lot of money. So there's once that money comes into our countries, I think we're going to continue to grow and seeing that presence of our own brands within our own region and also to other foreign markets as well.
It can't escape everybody to notice the tremendous growth that's been happening across Latin America over the course of the last few years. One of the byproducts of that clearly is that brands are starting to become significantly more important in Latin America than they have been in the past. Gal, let's start with you in Brazil. Are you seeing a greater relationship with consumers and brands than you have done in the past?
Yes, no doubt about it. And I think digital media has a very important role in that, because I think digital medium can be really a rite of passage for millions of people. This is what's happening in Brazil, because informed people becomes better consumers and better citizens, and the more competitive a market gets, the more brands need to get positioned. So without communication, there's no business. And in addition to including consumers in the dialogue with brands and vice versa, I think digital is an important gateway to position and communication for local brands, which many times have small communication budgets. So I see digital media as a railway to development, not only for the citizenship, for consuming, for brands, and also for the societies, of course.
In Colombia, 96% of those people who have internet connectivity engage in social networks. What impact do you think the growth of social networks are having in Colombia, and what impact do you think that might have across Latin America as well?
I think that we're going through a huge shift in the way we communicate with not only with our friends, but with in the way we interact with brands. There are a lot of opportunities because we can understand what consumers are saying about brands, about their services, and it's going to be a huge challenge for brands to understand the way in which consumers are starting to interact in countries like in Colombia.
Gal, how transformational do you think the digital economy is going to be, not just from a marketing perspective, but also to help transform people's lives across Latin America?
Beyond marketing and communication, we see the development of e-commerce, of e-learning, of e-health. These are segments that are very needed in a country like Brazil. Our development is very recent, and of course digital is helping very much to give new resources and new information to all the parts of the country.
Well, we've almost come to the end of our time. Just before we leave, perhaps you could just let us all know which brand you admire the most.
I would say that Corona beer for me is the brand that was probably unconsciously reached the United States at one given time by a group of surfers that came to Tijuana and then went to carrying the beer through the border, and it made a success that has made us all proud. I mean, Corona was not a beer, was not a premium beer, was a very modest beer in the country, but the persistence, how they have managed the brand throughout the world, certainly makes us proud.
I'm a big fan of Banco Itaú, and probably it seems weird to be a fan of a bank brand, but exactly because it's a bank brand, because I think that Itaú has an amazing work for its brand, because it's tasty, it has a very human approach, and I think it's not only a very important Brazilian brand, but a very important brand for Latin America, because it's positioning.
Well, I have to say that I have two. One is also a bank, which is called Bancolombia, a local bank, and it's their philosophy. It's all about making your life easier. So that's why I choose that brand. And the other one is a Chilean brand, which is Falabella. And the reason I chose that is because they are so successful on entering a market and bringing their best of the brand, of what they learn in Chile with the Chilean consumers, by being able to enter into a market such as the Colombian and make Colombians feel Falabella as a local brand.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Gal, Gabriel and Antonia, for sharing your thoughts and observations with us all.